Thank you, and please be seated. So now let's move on to our next session. Expert Dialogue Mainstreaming Game Music, and we're very delighted to have Mr. Herald Lee, Regional General Manager, Universal Production Music, and Mr. Cody Johnson, CEO and Creative Director, Emperia Sound and Music, to share their insights on game music. So Herald is an accomplished entrepreneur with an expertise in planning and executing highly effective digital operation for enterprise around the globe. And Cody is an acclaimed game composer, and Cody has recently been named as one of the Forbes 30 under 30 in 2021. So before we kickstart the session, let's have a quick trivia to test your knowledge on game music. Which gaming publisher has involved in music collaboration? A, Riot Games. B, Garena. C, Epic Games. D, all of the above. So make your guess now, and we'll announce the answer at the end of the session. And now please welcome Herald and Cody to join us. So hello, Herald.
Hello.
And Cody. Is Cody here?
Am I here?
Hello, Cody. Hi. It's a great pleasure to have you both here with us. So may I invite you both to briefly introduce yourself and your company first. So Herald, you can go first.
Sure. Hello, Cody. How are you? Nice to see you. So my name is Herald. So I look after Universal Production Music here in Hong Kong. So I covered pretty much everywhere in the Asia Pacific region. Pretty much everything, yeah. So we do a lot of good, not just the gaming music, but pretty much, all around the music, for the, different business.
So Cody, would you introduce yourself?
My name is Cody Matthew Johnson. By trade, I am a composer. Did freelance composition for film and television and trailers, and if you watch TV, you sure have heard my music on accident. I've done a lot of collaborations with Universal Production Music as a composer for their licensing catalog before I got deep into video games and started this company, Emperia Sound and Music. That is it's a full-service interactive audio solutions company for all sorts of interactive media, specifically video games, but we also get into AR, MR, XR, experiential design, architecture. If you can move in a space, either virtually or physically, there should be sound there, and that's what we love to do.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. So once again, thank you so much for being here with us today. And shall we get started with the discussion?
Please.
All right, so Herald, how is the gaming music licensing business in the region and the growing potential, especially under the pandemic?
Well, in the last, I would say 9 months or so, we definitely see a lot of streaming, a lot of esports activity going on here from China, Taiwan, and Korea as well. So something like, I believe, in 2020, it's about $150 billion market, and probably a quarter of them is from mobile. So we definitely see the trend, is going up and up, especially, with this unfortunate incident, which is the pandemic. But I would say, going forward, we definitely, seeing, the upside of, a huge market potential, going forward in this particular region.
So Cody, can you share about the global landscape of gaming composition and the opportunities in this fascinating industry?
Yeah, absolutely. The great thing about video games, if you look at other forms of media, there are certainly, I guess, subcultures around the world within different forms of media. But with video games, you're looking at a truly global market, and I think that has only continued to expand with this year and with the opportunity of more accessible global communication. I mean, look, this is happening. And it's an amazing thing. The camera cut out. Hopefully I'm still on.
Yep, you're still on.
I'm not.
We can still see you.
Yeah.
That's good.
Perfect. That matters. Great. And so with what happened this year, it's actually been a great opportunity to kind of flex the possibilities of communication. So that has just continued to expand the world of games and become more globalized. So what that means is more cultures, mashing up and clashing and creating some new, very interesting things and people stepping outside of their comfort zones. And when you have opportunities to explore cultures that aren't your own and to collaborate with people who aren't, from your own backyard, you really start to break out of your own shell and find new creative opportunities. So music as a whole, it's sound in games as a whole and gaming as a whole has really kind of started to explore the possibilities internationally. And I think you find more and more developers from Asia and also from the West looking, across the sea, as you might say, for newer and more diverse talent to bring exactly what they're looking for to the table.
Right. So, Harold, in terms of like the music composition, like in terms of culture and style in the Asian market, do you see any differences between the two?
Good question. I definitely see what I call a East meets the West right now. So there's a lot of people from around the globe, they are reaching us to have some sort of very Asian-specific taste of music. So being here in Asia, so we are very, very fortunate. We have a lot of good composers from Taiwan, from China, from Hong Kong, from Singapore, and so on and so forth. So basically, they start to create a lot of good, not just the good music, but they use a lot of their own very, very specific instrument and produce a lot of the music, not just regular music, but the music, which is, have the Asian taste right there. So this is what I do see right now, and I strongly believe, if we start to, go into this particular direction, we would definitely have more, we can produce more very bespoke gaming music, for a lot of, the special gaming people out there.
And Cody, can you tell us about like how people can get into the industry, and would there be any chances for them to compose music for multiple AAA title games?
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone has a unique path, and you should first assess where you're at, both regionally and geographically, but also in terms of your skill and your technique and your career. And this applies to, I would say, again, games and esports as a whole, where you need to start regionally and be building outwards. Find, like-minded people like you within your immediate community and grow a community and let that community thrive. And luckily now with, again, the increased accessibility of communication, like this awesome webinar, you can meet people from around the world and start building, a very strong network, right? You can only know the interpersonal connections of 150 people closest to you, or something like that. I'm not a psychologist, but and that is how you build a career. And the unique thing about video games and esports, much differently than other forms of traditional media, this form of new media is deeply steeped in collaboration and community and kindredship. So, the person you meet at Cyberport today, if you're an aspiring game audio professional, could be the audio director at Bungie for Halo 11. Anything is possible. And so looking at the community as a collaborative environment, as friendship, as genuine friendship, and not as so much competitive and opportunism, that's how you build a career on sustainable relationships and on, at the end of the day, sustainable creative environments as well. And you don't just lift yourself up, you lift the entire community of gaming up together as a whole. And that elevates both your small sliver of the art form, but that elevates all of gaming at the same time.
Okay. So, Herald, we know that you're quite familiar with UPM. So, how UPM works with the songwriters in the gaming area?
I would say in the last 1 year or so, we start to put a new product together, which probably will be launching, sometime in first half of 2021. So we've been working with a lot of, great composers around the globe, and we have, there's a lot of new initiative we are put it together. So stay tuned, please, come to Universal Production Music, first half of 2021, and we will announce a lot of good product strategy and how exactly we are going to work with a lot of not just the composer, but the gaming platform to introduce a lot of great and good product, for them.
Okay. So Cody, we've seen a lot of esports event music creation that tries to add pop song elements to the composition as the theme song. So what's the latest music industry trend in esports?
Well, the music industry is having a moment this year, and it is struggling to recover, and it's looking for any sort of way to build a sustainable model into the future to find more revenue opportunities. If you look at, there's no touring right now. I come from I started in the music industry and then came into games, so I know what they're experiencing very well. I used to tour in a band and I understand all of that. So there's no touring, there's no events, there's no merchandising, there's a lot of missed opportunities for revenue in the music industry. But if you look to gaming, that has flourished this year, there's an immense amount of opportunities for kind of integrating popular music, I'm going to say popular music, but around the world, whatever that may be in specific cultures, infusing that into games. Great games and esports are incredible branding opportunities. There are incredible merchandising opportunities. There are entire subcultures of esports dedicated to singular teams or singular people on teams. So being able to infuse the music industry, celebritize the music industry inside of the context of video games, endorsements, merchandise relationships, that's the next logical step. It's already started to happen. You look at Travis Scott in Fortnite, or I think Marshmello was in Fortnite as well, and there've been some Minecraft concerts, and the next logical step will be introducing more musical artists into esports and live events and collaborative environments with game developers and event producers into the future, and watching the format and how those events play out will be very interesting. You can look at any sort of sports event where there's a concert halfway through the event. I think that's going to be a similar treatment going forward as we get back into live esports events in Q1 and into the future.
Okay, so Herald, when it comes to gaming music licensing, what's the difference between gaming music licensing and the traditional music licensing?
Good question. So let me start from the traditional music licensing first. So basically, the traditional music licensing, usually we do have a huge, gigantic catalog, which is the business, they will look for it, and then, to see, what they're looking for, and, depending is what type of business they are, and then they would just pick exactly the works they've been looking for, from TV terrestrial to internet nowadays, or maybe to advertising agency. But the more, we've been in this industry, especially in the last, 9 months or so, I do see the trend, going, I believe is, we will probably work with a lot of composer, someone like Cody, and then to work with them, to have what we call the bespoke song. So basically, we will work with them to have a very dedicated song, because there's no one game, they are the same. So most likely at the end of the day, we have to, work with the developer, the platform, and then, again, someone like Cody as a composer, and then trying to understand, what they need, and then at the end of the day, we will deliver exactly, the dedicated bespoke song, which, perfectly fit for that particular game. That is what I do see there.
So Cody, some game publishers have even created some virtual idols that integrated with their game characters. So how do you see this immersive experience?
I think it's awesome. I think I'm surprised it's taken this long. You look at Miku Hatsune and how successful that avatar of a virtual music artist was internationally. I mean, she blew up around the world. And it's taken a shockingly long amount of time for game developers to start integrating that. The most recent success was with Riot Games, with the KDA virtual kind of K-pop band, and people have gone, boggers over it. They have lost their minds. And it has quickly bridged a gap of two very different audiences and have created one audience out of them, right? Any sort of good hybridized art form is going to bring, two groups of people together and form one stronger art form. And so by doing that, we're creating more options and more availability for gaming as a platform and bringing more people to it, but also exposing those gamers. That same example, the gamers of League of Legends, there's a good deal of them who might not have ever been exposed to that kind of music, and now they have been exposed to a whole world of musical possibilities. And the inverse is true as well. It's brought a lot of people to gaming, to their platform. So as more, I think the possibilities are endless, and I think Riot has set a precedent as being one of the larger. It's huge. To do something like that is going to inspire a lot of developers to kind of take that leap with them and experiment with this idea of virtual bands. You look at Cyberpunk and Keanu Reeves' character. That's like a huge part of the game, and people are all been playing it nonstop for 24 hours and are losing their minds over it. So the future, again, is very bright in terms of looking to cross-platform opportunities and finding more creative, it's merging, it's a melting pot of a lot of different cultural aspects. Back to the globalism of games, it's creating a lot of very interesting new art forms and platforms. It's all very exciting.
So Herald, how music licensing platform is helping the song composer or client for mutual benefits? Can you explain it to us?
Sure. A licensing platform like universalproductionmusic.com is a perfect place to mesh, both the client and the composer together. So let me start from the composer first. So basically, we've been working with a lot of great composers around the globe, someone like Cody, to have their works, the music track, in our platform. So nowadays, if you take a look at the industry as a whole, there's a lot of different licensing, and there's a lot of income. They are coming from everywhere. So what we want to do, what we're trying to do is, basically, let Cody to do their job, which is, they will, concentrate to work on their music. There's their job. So our job right here is basically as a twofold. So we have a lot of sales and marketing team around the globe, not just in Hong Kong, but, basically, speaking about from Asia Pacific perspective, we have Singapore, we have Taiwan, we have Korea, we have China, and etc. So, we have a lot of sales and marketing folks, on the ground, and we've been, speaking with our client directly, and we are going to understand, what they need, and then, we will be able to try to help, someone like Cody to collect, different income and the source, from so many different sources, So we don't want to, all the works at the end of the day, we want to make sure, we will be able to collect, and then we can, turn it back to, a good composer like Cody, So having, universalproductionmusic.com, we can work with, a lot of great composer. I think this is a key from the composer perspective, and then they will be able to leverage us to do, a lot of stuff.
And last question for you, Cody. What are the business opportunities that could add value to the industry?
That's a great question. I do, as the CEO and the creative director of my own company, I have to look at the industry from a lot of different points of view. I don't just I don't always hold myself up in my studio and write music and not see the daylight every day. We're going out there and we're meeting people and we're talking and discussing. And the big thing of at least what I try to impart from my more business-minded sensibility is more of a holistic approach to games as a whole, and looking at the industry and trying to understand its needs and filling those. So as the industry has, as a whole, games and esports combined have really exploded this year,
you will begin, and this had already existed before this year, you see a lot of people having content needs, people who are at a shortage for high quality assets, whether it's sound or music, graphical assets, across the board. And what that means is there's an opportunity to create a flexible and unique business model to fill those needs, because there's an understanding that isn't necessarily true, that it costs a lot of money or is a lot of effort, or I'm a small game, or whatever it may be. Music is not accessible. But in 2020, there are a lot of flexible options. You can go to UPM, you can start having dialogues with game developers and finding flexible solutions to fit their needs. There's, like Herald was saying, there's about $150 billion worth of revenue in video games this year, which is more than film, TV, the NFL, if anyone knows American football, all combined and then doubled. So there's an abundance of opportunity to create value in the industry, and really it comes through serving and understanding exactly where your role can play. So it's creating abundance, it's solving problems. I like to put it, for the Star Wars fans out there, I like to take our holistic approach as, we're the Sonic Yoda, and you are, the Luke Skywalker, and you're the hero to your story, and you are making an awesome game. And it's my job to just simply give you the tools to make it sound awesome. And that sort of holistic approach, rather than being this monolithic creative force that is just gonna take the energy away from your game, that's not our thing. So finding the right answer to the right problem before, or either before they know it, or a problem that they never realized they had, is kind of the new normal for finding business opportunities into 2020. So if anyone's watching, go out there, talk to game developers, and don't simply ask them if they need sound and music. Don't simply ask them if you're an artist, if they need assets. Ask what their problems are. Ask what's stopping them. What's the hardest thing for them to try and hurdle over? What's the most difficult obstacle in their path? And then think of your own holistic approach on how your principle, what you're good at, your craft, can solve that problem, or at least a small part of that problem. Or find a problem that they don't know they have. And that's kind of my key, golden piece of information that I give to anyone who's aspiring or currently working in the industry, to find abundance and to find opportunity and value in our industry.
Thank you so much, Cody. So that's the end of our discussion, and thank you, Herald and Cody, for the expert sharing and sharing so much insights on the topic, game music. Thank you very much for being here with us. So now please stay tuned to Cyberport News. Universal Production Music will be providing a training workshop to Cyberport community soon. So now it's time to review the answer of our trivia. The correct answer is D, all of the above. For Riot Games, KDA is a virtual girl group consisting of 4 themed versions of League of Legends character. As for Garena, the collaboration between Free Fire and Kashmir created a theme song called One More Round. And lastly, for Epic Games, Travis Scott reportedly banked $20 million for his 12-minute concert in Fortnite. So once again, thank you so much for being here with us, Herald. Thank you so much, and please be seated. Thank you.